MrBeast has been an internet sensation that has very much grew from like just nothing to absolute stardom. His face and name has been plastered almost everywhere on the internet, and it's practically just been avoidable to not see him or just be referenced in a lot of memes and such. And the guy very much almost needed like no introduction. He has become a brand and a name, and basically a person that people almost ever look up to, very much for his donations and charities, and just essentially giving away money, unlike most billionaires exactly would not do. However, during this summer in particular, he ended up getting himself into a much more of a deep allegation than was anything else. It wasn't the fact that he was always being canceled over the most like trivial things possible, such as like oh, he cured people's blindness, oh, he cured people's hearing, or that he made a well in Africa. Like that wasn't exactly the stuff that he would normally be canceled for. And instead, this is a little bit more like serious than anything else, as this isn't actually in relation to the whole Ava Chris Tyson situation, as I already made a video kind of going over that. And while there has been more information, such as like the Discord log leaks and the potential of the sexual assault allegations, I'm not exactly going to be discussing more of that. That has already been taken in by a lot of other people. And instead, I wanted to focus on is this video that was made by Dogpack404, a ex-MrBeast employee, who very much came out to very much, blow the whistle on basically the entirety of the company. I'm not going to go over the entirety of the video of itself, because I think it's a better watch for you, the viewer, to see for yourself as well. I am mainly just going to be going over the highlights that I think are the most important, and go over things that I feel like there are the more less important things in the video of itself. When I did end up seeing this video, I kind of went under the impression that this was kind of be one of those things that wasn't exactly going to be a major hit, because I always thought that like anytime MrBeast was going to get canceled, or like like essentially being saying like he's an evil person, he's the Antichrist, I immediately thought that I thought it was going to be like one of those videos that would be exactly as it would sound. However, upon actually watching it again and through other channels, I ended up failing to realize that the one problem with it, and all the other things that I very much did not recognize, as it was kind of a problem for me where I didn't exactly see, which was that I was not a kid. It'll very much explain why when I'm explaining the video of itself, but for the most part, I went into there very much knowing all the manipulation tactics that a lot of people kind of just do, because a lot of it felt like it was just natural, just entertainment, like industry stuff that very much kind of just happens. And while there are some that I barely can say that it's like very much the standard practice that's been happening within like entertainment as in like a whole, a lot of the stuff that also very much gets revealed, I didn't even kind of think to consider as to exactly why that would actually end up mattering in the first place. So I originally was going to make a video that was going to be kind of like the opposite of it, but until further rewatching from like multiple other angles, I ended up finding out myself that honestly, if I did make the video as it was originally, it was going to just be like spreading out misinformation in front of everybody, and very much seeing like I was disagreeing with Dogpack, when in reality, I think it was more just like a case that I was not particularly caring of certain aspects of the video. To get to the stuff that I personally don't have much of a care for, that I didn't see as much as like as a big deal, or that his videos fake. And to be that, I say like, to the extent, yeah, I think a lot of MrBeast videos are like fake for the most part. Like that's not much of a shocking revelation to just say out loud for the most part. I'm not exactly going to be crying myself to sleep thinking that like, oh, like the contestant 58 and contestant 42, they didn't have beef with one another, or oh no, the raccoon is an actual paid actor, which apparently that's an actual thing with a lot of pets in like entertainment, that you can just pay an animal to be a paid actor, and that's like a thing, which I didn't even think that was kind of a real thing. I thought he was literally joking, but no, apparently it actually is real. I'm not even gonna also like blame him as well for like the holding of the CGI, because like it was obvious from like most things that it was going to obviously be CGI. Like I don't know exactly what was gonna be spent on. Like did people actually think that like the bus moved, something like that? Like obviously some CGI was kind of just involved, but like I don't think that's gonna be a thing that most people are going to like cry themselves to sleep over as like a sign of betrayal. This also goes to the extent of like claiming that the $1 island was a $26 thing, which apparently that was also kind of just debunked. Apparently it was an actual island that was actually costing $1 in specifically, though it's now being returned back to its owners originally. So I'm not exactly sure how that would work. So I mean, I don't know. I say, like, the $1 item is real, so I guess take that as you will. There is, to the extent that MrBeast does fake his videos, and while I'm not exactly, like exactly caring that, like, oh no, he faked his videos, which is like there's some obvious things out there that, like, he did fake it, or like there's some stuff in the videos like, okay, he couldn't possibly fake that as well. I think it's more of a bit of a hard thing to trust, because, like, that's not exactly the most important thing that I think most people would easily coming into a MrBeast video. I feel like if you want to get away, or at least, get out this information, you wouldn't exactly want to say, like, all these other safe stuff is, like, are fake. That's kind of a weak introduction to the verse, where, like, let's be honest, some YouTube videos are just like, they have like a level of fakeness to them. Like, that's not surprising, but they still make for entertaining videos. The next thing is the Feastables chocolate bar. That's been very much widely recognized. I've actually tried the Feastables chocolate bars, like the 3 specific ones. I believe were the D's Nuts one, and I think like the blue and pink one. I actually don't exactly remember the names, but I did try them. They're more or less like decent bars. Like, they're chocolate, so it's not exactly surprising to taste chocolate. The chocolate bars themselves very much had the gimmick that they were a better Hershey's bar, since Hershey's ended up using 10 ingredients, while MrBeast's bars, like the Feastables, only had 5 ingredients. Omaville actually ended up explaining this as to why that more ingredients or less ingredients doesn't exactly equate to making something a little bit more healthier, as by over time the Feastables, the chocolate bar, will end up adding more ingredients onto it to be the equivalent of Hershey's, but also be acceptably more unhealthy than in a Hershey's bar. So exactly, no matter how you put it, it's still a chocolate thing. And to be fair, this type of like marketing tactic hasn't exactly been new. A lot of like companies and a lot of products end up doing this, where they claim that they are an alternate, like, healthier like version of it, and they would have like some of this like little secret ingredient that they have, the chemical X, that would say that it actually is healthy for you. And to be fair, I think that's not particularly care for the most part. Like, you willingly went out your way to buy a chocolate bar. Like, no matter how much you look at it, like, whether it has like 10 ingredients or 5 ingredients, it still is a chocolate bar. It's kind of like the whole situation with like the Mina cookies, where like it was said on the back, it was like you can get like 1 cookie, you can have like enough vitamin D, as like walking into the sunlight for an hour. Like that's obviously bullshit. Like, no cookie in the world ever does that. Like, you're still eating a cookie regardless of like what the bag even says. Like, no matter what, you're eating a cookie and it's chocolate. No matter how much you break it down, it is still fundamentally, you're just digesting sugar into yourself.
Which, market your product however you want to market it. Something that has less ingredients and is simple doesn't mean it's healthy magically, right? Like, less ingredients, sure, that's good. No dyes, natural flavors, sure, that's good. It's not healthy. None of this stuff is healthy. Nothing that is sugar-based, that has no protein or no fat, and that is processed in any way is healthy. That includes all of the candy that I make and 20% of the food that I eat on a daily basis. It is not healthy food. If you can't grow it or see it, shoot it, take its skin off, cut a part of it out, fry it, and eat it, it's not healthy. All right?
First big claim I want to tackle is specifically the live streams that JB would do, where he would end up promising someone if he bought or subbed the channel, along with it added bonus. And in this case, MrBeast was signing shirts with his iconic signature on a live stream, and the live stream was revealed to be a scam, as not only multiple people have not gotten any of the shirts or prizes, but the signature wasn't even signed by Jimmy's hand, which is silly when you very much hear that out loud. It was like, oh no, a signature wasn't signed by Jimmy. That's like the most evilest thing that he actually done. When it was actually found on like a website that is now actually saved in by the Wayback Machine, where specifically it was promised that you would end up getting a shirt signed by MrBeast with his iconic signature, and it didn't exactly say that the other MrBeast crew members were supposed to sign MB, at least onto the website that you can actually end up seeing. So in a way, it was kind of almost like they were meant to at least assumingly sign their own signatures, but one of them actually ended up showing a clip where he would end up actually signing the thing with MB, then we end up signing his own signature, and realizing that he messed up, he had to like slide it away and hide it from view as to make sure nobody would end up seeing it.
The FTC defines a lottery as containing 3 elements: a valuable prize, random chance, and consideration, which can be time or effort, but in most cases is just payment. To successfully run a contest or a sweepstakes, you must eliminate one of these factors. A contest, for example, eliminates chance, and a sweepstakes eliminates consideration. In determining if any MrBeast giveaways have been illegal lotteries, we need to identify a prize, which is distributed through random chance and cannot be won without spending money. On August 2nd, 2020, MrBeast live streamed him and his friends signing limited edition shirts celebrating 40 million subscribers. And here are just some of the clips from that stream.
For those of you who are just joining, if you buy one of our limited edition 40 mil special shirts, we're celebrating 40 million subscribers with a really big video, then we will sign that shirt, and some of them will get random prizes like this. In 10 minutes, right, because we gotta give them time to do their cart, we'll give 2 orders $500 each. 5 minutes, someone's getting $3 grand in their order. In 5 minutes, we're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna put $1,000 in a random order. 2 minutes, newest order gets $2,000. Good luck, everybody.
So this was a 6-hour live stream. They took it down off YouTube, but 5 hours of it are still up on their Facebook page. And during those 5 hours, I counted 46 illegal lotteries. These lotteries are also run poorly. Multiple times they would say something like, buy in the next 5 minutes for a chance to win. And then 7 minutes later go, actually, the newest order in 30 seconds is gonna win.
In 5 minutes, we're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna put $1,000 in a random order. Hey, Daryl, don't we owe someone $1,000?
We do.
Yeah, so, all right, so the newest order, in 30 seconds, we are gonna put $1,000 in your package.
Stephen K.
Okay?
So here's a clip of Tyler forging, or not, maybe not forging, using MrBeast's signature. So Tyler signs MB, which is MrBeast's signature. Then he covers it, signs his own initials, TC, smirks, looks around, and then quickly slides the shirt away. Could you make it any more obvious? You know, you don't accidentally have someone else's signature as muscle memory. And again, I'm not a lawyer, I think this is fraud. Maybe they could say it's the brand's signature, even though it's clearly implied that this is Jimmy's signature, which was established during the last live stream.
Dogpack would end up showing multiple live streams which have been taken down by MrBeast, as they basically almost do the exact same gimmick. If you buy merch, you will receive a prize. But many people will come out to claim that MrBeast's comments and on Reddit that they never received the prizes, or at all, it was just never given. It hasn't been something new that MrBeast has exploited. It's been around for a while, and you probably have seen something like this before, like these iPhone giveaways or like the PS5 giveaways that, like, you know, you see on like all over on YouTube. As you know that these giveaways are kind of just fake. They only just want you to subscribe and just, you know, kind of, you know, give them the attention more, like, comment, share, and subscribe to their channel. You know, basically to make them grow a lot more and more. There's even a moment where his old manager was thinking of collaborating with Mystery Brand, the scam loot box website that was shut down and was promoted by YouTubers such as like Jake Paul and Rice Gum.
Anything you've had to say no to?
Yeah, tons. Yeah. So a good example. So it was about 3 years or 2.5 years ago when I started working with Jimmy. What was becoming really popular were these like mystery loot crate, like internet sites where it's basically like CSGO skins, but you'd go on and be like, here's the Supreme box, and you'd pay $50 for it. And remember, it was
yeah, like, didn't Rice Gum did quite a few people.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, they got a lot of hate for that.
Right.
Jimmy was, he wanted to work with that company when he heard about it because it was a lot of money and we wanted to give that money away in a video. And I had to talk him back on it. I was like, listen, we're not promoting gambling. I think people are going to see this negatively. So it was a long conversation that him and I had to have, which eventually we passed on the deal. And then Jake Paul and Rice Gum ended up doing that deal and got a lot of...
Next one is the legend of rigging the challenges. With the first example he brings up is the 100 boys versus the 100 girls video, where he claims that he helped the girls team to just barely win the challenge, more so than the boys team, which resulted in the girls winning. But during the challenge, MrBeast offered one of the boys a bigger cash deal that was more than the original prize. But he ended up handing this to the one person that actually was meant to complete a challenge during that time, which was of one boy that they had to solve the Rubik's Cube, and the other girl had to also solve the Rubik's Cube. And both the teams only had one girl, one boy each that actually knew how to solve the Rubik's Cube. So MrBeast ended up, you know, bribing this, the only boy that was actually able to progress them to the next challenge in order to actually solve the Rubik's Cube. And now that that's gone, it was essentially alleged that in the video itself, MrBeast had a highly more just like favoritism to the girls team for them to win a little bit more, as MrBeast essentially was helping much more of the girls out there, and as well as that they were helping the boys less and less. While it did prove to be an entertaining video in and of itself, MrBeast was kind of shown to be a hypocrite with this, as both TV shows and challenge shows are legally not allowed to do this, to essentially like, rig the results. But since Jimmy isn't exactly TV, it's lucky that he somehow in some way is able to get by this. Like, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not actually sure which lawyer he hired. Maybe he hired Saul Goodman to find a loophole around this, but it is classified as illegal to do. There is an argument to be made that this is just standard TV and that like he wouldn't exactly have much of a problem. But then again, Jimmy isn't TV, so we don't exactly know if this was okay, but it is still classified as illegal.
It all boils down to a question. At what point does a YouTuber become so big they jump categories without voluntarily jumping categories? A random person in their basement making YouTube videos is not broadcast television, right? Nobody can make that argument. But when a multi-billion-dollar media company, because those are the numbers we're talking about here, is giving away millions of dollars in prizes or hosting dozens of live-streamed lotteries that seem to very blatantly violate the law, at what point does that media company become liable for the activity that they're perpetrating? When a guy is running game shows for hundreds of millions of usually young viewers and giving away life-changing sums of money to various participants, but modifies the rules and the integrity of that competition on a personal whim for the purpose of making it more entertaining to the audience, when does the line get drawn in the sand? When does someone else, a higher authority, step in and say, no, you have to make this fair. You can't just decide, oh, that'd be more entertaining. Let's bribe him to drop out so she can win, or give them a drone so they can have an advantage. That's not okay. And it's a house of cards that MrBeast is living in right now that, in my opinion, absolutely will eventually collapse on top of him. Lastly, for anyone who made it this far but just isn't convinced of anything, totally fair. Remember Rosanna Pansino? Yeah, she just came out with a video regarding the current Beast Games, which is a competition show by MrBeast in filming right now in Las Vegas that will be on Amazon Prime, citing sources from the competitors, of which she claims to have 10 separate ones. Quote, it was really bad. People were having seizures because they were not getting medication, even though we were promised we would. And it was 100% rigged. They presented it as though the game would be like Squid Games, basically a type of game show where all the games are an even playing field. That was not at all the case. All the games were about speed and strength. So only the young athletic males were at an advantage over the women and elderly people that were cast. To make things worse, men started realizing that they could take out the women without being eliminated. Guys started tackling and hitting women. 2 girls were tackled and passed out on the field and dragged off to continue filming. I saw people with broken bones, stitches, etc., and most were women. We were given maybe 400-calorie meals and only fed every 12 hours. Food would run out, and people would fight over, steal, and hoard food. Water was scarce and kept running out as well. I had to sit with a bloody pad for 2 days before I could get undergarments and my reusable pads because I'm allergic to regular pads. We were also sleep deprived, only allowed to sleep 3 to 4 hours. We all slept on the floor of the stadium in a $10 sleeping bag. Skipping forward here, they offered anyone who lost $1,000 to sign away their rights to join any kind of class action lawsuit of any kind. I didn't sign, so I did not get the money. After this article came out and things started blowing up, they called everyone back and decided to offer an additional $1,000 per person to make up for the inconveniences, end quote. To clarify, this person asserts it wasn't Amazon Prime that called them, it was MrBeast's personal crew.
The last came into the video is of the YouTuber Manntonice, who was end up featuring into MrBeast's video where he would end up spending $1 million of Jimmy's own money. And that, Jimmy would end up promising that he would end up setting up for life. But he only had 1 hour to make an investment of what house he actually wanted, and as well as 24 hours as to spend the entirety of the money under 24 hours. This I honestly do agree that it did suck, because most people don't exactly understand of how much money that a person can have, and they would usually end up just spending it all on very questionable things. And for Manntonice, he would only had such a limited time to make these decisions, with the only reason that he couldn't do more was because of the time added that limited his own, like, just, what he actually wanted to do, and with all the money.
The second thing that I probably would do different is invest. And I know what y'all about to say. Y'all about to go to the clip too, where Jimmy said that we set a certain amount aside to invest.
I know you talked about wanting to maybe invest $50K and then set aside like the other 23 for just other little nuances here and there.
This is not me calling anybody a liar or anything, because I know what y'all do. I know what the internet does. But what I think what happened was somebody that worked for MrBeast or something like that was supposed to probably help me invest, but that didn't happen. I talked to Jimmy after I won $1 million, after I finally got the remaining amount in my bank account. I was telling him, I was like, man, I don't want to fail. I don't want to be like how everybody's saying, like I'm gonna run out of money and do all this crazy stuff. I was like, man, Jimmy, please help me. And he said he was gonna help me and we was gonna invest, but yeah, that didn't happen. So he did help me financially, but like giving me money for, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. That's why I'm trying to word it differently. But he did give me funds, but I just wish instead of like just, because it's okay to get funds, but to help me invest and to help me be able to be stable on my own without his money, So that's probably one thing I would do differently too. That was the best example I can give you is when we had planned out the house and stuff. I literally had an hour. He had somebody come to my house and we sat down and we planned all this in an hour. Yeah, they came to my house and we planned this out, and yeah, in about an hour. So I wish I would have had more time, and I wish I would have did a couple things differently on the time management side, which I guess I really couldn't help because I had to spend it. I had to spend the money and I had to like do all this.
Though at the end of the original video, MrBeast does say that he did legit spend $1 million, set aside the taxes, and added a $17,000 to invest.
So Mark didn't actually receive all $1 million because he gave Chandler $100,000 and Jeremy $50,000. So what he got is $850,000. So Mark wants to set aside $340,000, basically 40%, just to make sure all his tax liabilities are covered. But now let's talk about Chandler. You spent $16,000 at Best Buy and $44,000 on bills. So you spent 60. So you said you spent 60 grand. Jeremy spent $30,000 and then set aside 20 grand for taxes. So that's another 50,000. So that is exactly where 923,000 of the $1 million went. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible because I know a lot of you won't believe me that I gave away $1 million, but I'm literally showing you right here. We did. You really did. You have 77 grand left. I know you talked about wanting to maybe invest 50K and then set aside like the other 23 for just other little nuances here and there. And to be 100% honest, we went into an investing firm and they told us we couldn't record. So you'll have to meet with the financial expert on your own. I really wanted to show you guys where all the money went. I'm gonna just close this.
That's $1 million.
That's where the $1 million went.
Plus, Manntonice also came out to defend MrBeast on his behalf. I see everyone has been tagging me and saying that MrBeast did be wrong when it's not even remotely true. In this video, I explained that we didn't invest when Jimmy said we could. I also said that Jimmy, for years, straight up kept me financially straight without ever asking me for anything. So please stop saying that when he did help to me, my experience is not the same as everyone else's. Now, after the dog pack video was in releasing, we ended up getting a statement from the co-founder of the MrBeast company named Chucky, and he came out with a response saying this tweet here. I want to totally debunk some of the info in this video since the guy who made it was on my team. It was my decision to fire him for erratic behavior. He worked at the company for less than a month and wasn't an employee for most of the videos he mentioned to have knowledge on. There's so much in this video that I want to specifically address to him, saying that our videos are fake or staged because of this is not true and I was on set from any of these videos. You won't get in a video unless you're family or friends with someone that works for MrBeast. That is a wild statement that can easily be proven wrong. There's probably hundreds or thousands of people who have no affiliation to friends or family on the MrBeast employees. Think of the 456 people in Squid Game, or ages 1 to 100, etc. Jimmy doesn't know more than like a dozen people. Lol. The train track was CGI and the bus wheels are CGI and the bit is fake. He acts like he is exposing us for using CGI to make backgrounds look cool when we have done multiple public behind the scenes videos with So Crispy showing this. It's not a secret. On top of that, we did drive buses into the pit, and same with the train that you claimed that we didn't. The raccoon was a paid actor. I don't even know what to say about this. This is really not an actor. Islands cost more than $1. Not true. We did pay $1 for the island. You can Google MrBeast purchased Outer Bank for $1, which stated that this before the video was released. He moved into a mansion 2 months ago before being in the video, $1 million mansion. He talks about how 2 months ago before he filmed the first Mac video and that he moved into a mansion, Mac was staying at a friend's house, and I'm not sure how he proves anything that is why it's relevant. This wink was added in post. Bro, he really did wink. This is why I'll lie again. The revenge story was added in post. He implies 42 and 58 was scripted and not real. The contestants themselves had talked about this on stream. They did say after the video that they legit did not like each other. He also claimed that 58 was on the far opposite side and didn't hear him. Just because he was on the other side of the room, you don't think that 58 heard him yell? How on earth would he know? Not only the results of the video were completely scripted, but the contestants were not random subscribers. He claims our 100 boys versus 100 girls video is scripted, and the proof is that random text saying it. That's it. That was not scripted. Jimmy probably have countless people on set for that video, and it would have been impossible to hide. The video is not scripted. I was on set for this, and there was no bias for who won. He also implies the video is fake because we have some employees on each team. The employees in the video were right there to fit in for the people who tested positive for COVID last minute right before filming. Thea, Jimmy's girlfriend, mentioned that this on the podcast over a year ago. If it wasn't for COVID, they would have not been in it. They had the same money on the line as everyone else. Some random text to someone thinking it was rigged doesn't mean it was rigged. He also just said the real-time video was fake. This is not fake. It was a nightmare to make this video, and it legit was filmed in 10 minutes. This part I honestly don't get because like there was a clear obvious bias within the 100 boys versus 100 girls video, because why would you end up like only favoring to the girls team in that specific video? Because like you were also there because there was a clear bias in the video. And if this was made to be made fair, there would be some other like things you end up doing to trip the girls up, to like maybe give them a little bit of an edge to win over the boys, or like the boys entirely, that the boys should exactly be able to like have their fair chance against the girls. Even in the video itself, he literally bribed one of the only boys that was able to solve the Rubik's Cube, and he got basically walked away with a whole bunch of cash, and the girls was able to get like the edge over the boys team. And by doing that, it showed that this is a illegal part to do, to try and rig the game show just for the sake of benefit of entertainment.
Enough, it's a violation of 47 USC 509, which states it shall be unlawful by means of persuasion, bribery, intimidation, or otherwise to induce or cause any contestant in a purportedly bona fide contest of intellectual knowledge or intellectual skill to refrain in any manner from using or displaying his knowledge or skill in such contest, whereby the outcome thereof will be in whole or in part prearranged or predetermined. End quote. And the girls did win the overall challenge. Meaning that the only real question is whether or not the world's largest YouTube channel, with hundreds of millions of followers and views, is governed by broadcasting laws, or if they are somehow immune to the governing regulations of game shows, traditional game shows, despite having a larger audience and higher prize money than any other similar program. To be fair, that question can actually be debated heavily. But what can't be debated is the fact that MrBeast directly influenced the challenge and the winning team in a biased way openly, which in part affected the results.
I also think that some of the MrBeast giveaways are fake. I do not fake giveaways. I have been hands-on with some of them and have personally been the person to connect winners with our accounting department to get paid. You also suggest that we didn't spend $1 million on Samsung phones, and I can assure you we did. Another lie for you. I could get going, but I don't want this to be too long. Dawson himself said on Reddit that he was on shrooms and weed when filming the video, which might explain some of the stuff he made up. Dawson was only employed from March 25th, 2024, and was let go on April 19th, 2024. He was on a 90-day trial and ended early and paid it on to June 25th, as he guaranteed the 90 days to pay so that he could transition into a new job. I appreciate if everyone reading this could help dispel all this fake rumors by spreading this info. Jimmy spends unfathomable amounts of money and time to ensure the integrity of what he does, and I hate to see it come to question with a bunch of lies. Dawson, if you leave this up, then you're a hypocrite. Chucky's whole statement doesn't really do all that much to address the illegal lotteries or the rigged challenges, which even if like the stuff like the boys versus girls thing are happening, it's still not exactly legal to do, because again, he says that there was no proven bias, but there was a proven bias in the video of itself. Like, you can't exactly do that at all. Not to mention that he's only going after the stuff that like can just easily be like, the fake stuff that Jimmy does. Like, oh yeah, like this is a fake, this is a fake, no, this is fake, this is fake, this is fake. Like, he's essentially just like kind of like knitting over the ones that just don't exactly matter all that much. And I don't know why. Even in the exact same statement, he said that he could go on and on for more and explain much more of the stuff that he can actually disprove. Well, I mean, you're the person that's like the most closest that would end up disproving a lot of this stuff. So why not keep going? Why not keep going more and add more onto the evidence that that if Dawson is wrong in this video, prove him wrong. Dogpack would end up making his own response as well, but this wasn't great too, as he would end up going to rebuttal the arguments. But like, again, this is just stuff that like nobody exactly cares all about. Like, there isn't exactly like a whole lot of meat and potatoes as to whether or not the raccoon was a paid actor or not, or that like most of the videos were fake to the extent like that really does not matter at the end of the day. Though after the statement, there did prove to be much more of an update, as Dawson was hit with a cease and desist, and in fact got a second one as a result, and he basically said, fuck it, we do it live, and doubled down by responding it with a meme, and essentially exposing TeamSeas. He claims in the thread that TeamSeas is a joke to deliver the amount of money, time, effort, and carbon costs to raise the money to clean the ocean. In an interview with Marcus Brown Lee, basically promoting the idea of saving the ocean, when in reality, no matter if everybody was, in the world was able to, pick up like a shovel and, start getting rid of all the plastic in the ocean, it would exactly made zero difference.
It's not necessarily about the 30 million pounds. It's about the inspiration. Exactly. It's about the positive net influence of people coming together and demonstrating something powerful. So,
yep. And just showing that people care, honestly.
Yeah. Why should the internet care about TeamSeas?
Well, I mean, if you care about the ocean, you should care about TeamSeas.
We're saving the oceans in two ways.
You help us save the ocean. I'm trying to raise some money to help save the ocean. I'm gonna lie and go with it so we, raise money to save the ocean. If you want to see me and Mark Rober suffer and save the ocean, you gotta save the ocean.
TeamSeas is proof that when a huge amount of people get together to help make things better on this planet, big things can happen.
Shut up, bitch!
It was also shown that Mark Rober and Jimmy promoted these circle plastic balls as a single usage, and shows a video from a YouTuber by the name of Amnesty, in which he explains that the bottles has these circle sips, which are basically the flavor cartridges like the Arab, where it's basically the same gimmick, except the way the bottle is designed has it where if you remove the sip, there's not a seal or a lid for the bottle. The sip is the seal, and that the sip and the cartridges need to be replaced by a new one every 10 days. So not only that you're just basically spending money to buy a new cartridge every 10 days, but you're basically throwing out more plastic into the ocean as a result, which is ironic since TeamSeas was meant to promote the opposite. Also, on a side note that doesn't exactly much matter, but TeamSeas at one point did NFTs because everyone and their mother did NFTs at one point. Like, I am so fucking glad those shits are actually dead and gone in the water.
You're gonna have to buy these plastic flavored tampon things for the rest of your life because according to the package, you have to replace them. Yeah, it says use within 10 days of opening. So that's not a lot of days. The nipple / spout thing and the flavored tampon, you can't open them up and clean inside of it. So you're just gonna have to take them every 10 days and toss it in the trash. If you decide to stop using these flavored tampons, well then you are left with a useless water bottle because the lid just has a gaping hole, and that's a terrible water bottle design. That's a lot of plastic waste, and now that I'm saying it out loud, I just realized, didn't MrBeast and Mark Rober do this whole campaign about taking plastic like out of the ocean and stuff? Wait a minute, hold on. I stopped working on that video and started writing a new script, which is this video here. And if you're a bit confused, it might help if I explain exactly how this circle water bottle works. So you've got the bottle itself, which is nothing to write home about. You've got a lid, which is different because the lid actually has a giant gaping hole in it. There's no way to stop that water. And then you've got what I'm gonna call the flavor tampon. Now, this thing also has the spout / nipple that you drink out of connected, attached to it. This is all one plastic piece. And as I mentioned, you have to replace this every 10 days. And the reason for that, my guess, is because you can't wash anything. You can't open it up, you can't clean inside of it. And so my guess is that mold might grow inside of it. And so if you keep drinking out of it, well, you're gonna be basically ingesting mold. So if you wanna buy this system, you're gonna have to buy these things pretty much for the rest of your life. And this is plastic, and Circle says you have to throw this away. Technically it's recyclable, but I'll explain why it's really not in just a minute. So that's how it works. But let's say you don't want to use the circle system anymore. Well, then you basically can't use this bottle anymore because there's a giant gaping hole on the lid. Now, some of you out there might say, well, just go buy a compatible lid. My rebuttal to you would be, that totally makes sense. And if you're somebody who refurbishes water bottles like that, all the power to you. But I don't know many people who do that with their water bottles. There needs to be some nuance here because Circle says on their website that these flavor tampons, they're recyclable. They're category 5 recyclable plastics. And that sounds great until you do some research and realize that in America at least, only 5 to 10% of all plastics are actually recycled. And category 5 plastics, these are barely recycled because it costs more to recycle them than to actually make new plastic. Some people refer to this as wish cycling, where we wish it was recyclable because it seems to have the recyclable sign, so we put it in recycling only for it to end up in a landfill or in the water where fish ingest it, and then we ingest the fish, and then we get microplastics all up in our body.
He also pushes this claim on how the TeamSeas never once mentioned corporate pollution or pushed for a ban on unnecessary single-use plastics, going as far as to say that 50% of the money went to a Peter Thiel-funded startup whose largest sponsor is Coca-Cola, which led to talk about the problems with microplastics and how damaging they can be. While I'm not an expert on microplastics to say that I have this knowledge, I did ask my good friend MichaelHulala to essentially explain exactly in detail in the best way possible, since this is his bread and butter. So you can take it from here.
Let me get one thing straight right off the bat. I really appreciate what MrBeast is doing. He's using this platform he has as being the biggest YouTuber ever to basically make change for the better. And that's something that not enough creators do, really. And I appreciate that. However, I think the biggest problem here is that TeamSeas has been barking up the wrong tree the whole time. Sure, cleaning up plastic is great, but the bigger issue isn't the plastic, it's the microplastic. It's the stuff you can't really clean up. I'm sure you've all seen those ads and stuff on TV where, oh, it's some poor seagull and it's got its bird stuck in beer packaging or something, right? Or who could forget the Visco girls who were preaching about straws and trying to save the turtles? And clearly there has been change visible with something like that. I mean, no matter how mushy they may get, paper straws are probably here to stay. I think just the issue here is that instead of focusing on targeting microplastics and really the problem at the source with things like beverage companies, he's just cleaning up a mess and performing a Herculean task that honestly isn't going to make that big of a difference. Sure, you can clean up that trash, but what's the point if more trash is going to be coming in? You need to stop it from coming in the first place. Look at milk, for example, right? Nowadays, most of the milk that people buy, unless you're one of those people who buys like the huge gallon jugs, you're usually in a carton. And this carton is composed of like 80% paper. So imagine if we do that with water. Suddenly, we're cutting down 80% of that plastic waste as paper. And sure, paper waste isn't good either, but the fact is that it's much more biodegradable than something like plastics, so it won't really cause that big of an issue to the oceans. And beverage companies account for like 15% of all the plastic in the oceans currently. So you can imagine it doesn't look really good for MrBeast when a sizable chunk of the money is going to something like Coke. To clarify, I meant like the drink, not the other and much more enjoyable thing. The reason why microplastics are so dangerous is because of something called biomagnification. Now, maybe you didn't pay attention in 8th grade science class, and honestly, I can't blame you, but basically biomagnification is the concept that a fish will eat this microplastic and it'll be inside of its body. And already that in and of itself can have some sort of negative impact on its life. You know, it could clog its arteries and veins, for example, or it could cause a bunch of other things that we haven't studied yet because we don't have enough information. But the issue is that now you have another fish that's going to eat this smaller fish and take in those microplastics. And the higher and higher up you go on the food chain, the more fish something needs to eat. So something like, I don't know, a shark would have to eat a lot more of those fish that eat a lot more of those fish, and so on and so forth, to the point where there is an immense amount of concentration of microplastics in the shark. Now, obviously, I don't think we're really going to be having to worry about sharks as far as us as consumers, but if you have something like, I don't know, a tuna, which, let's be honest, that's a massive fish, so it has to eat a lot, and it's definitely a predator. This thing isn't going to be gobbling like algae. And the issue is that you're going to get that tuna, some guy's going to catch it, send it to the market, and suddenly your tuna fish salad is a tuna fish and plastic salad. So it can also have negative impacts on human life, not just the oceans. So for everybody who says they don't really care about the oceans, yeah, but you should probably still care about human life. The average American these days is actually consuming about a credit card's worth of plastic every single day. That's ridiculous. And I don't even know where MrBeast is sending all this plastic. Like, sure, you can send it to landfills, and that's not really good. And if you're recycling it, that's fine. But the issue is, what's the point of recycling a water bottle that was in the ocean into making a new water bottle if that exact same plastic is going to be in the ocean again? Because the longer it's going to be there, the more time it's going to have to break down into microplastics. The solution here, as great as recycling is, and as great as TeamSeas is, it's not that. It's just to attack legislature, attack these companies, and tell them, hey, maybe you should make paper-based packaging. And yeah, okay, I'm gonna be honest, I don't mind drinking my Coke out of a can, right? And that's fine, because sure, you might have cans that fall into the ocean, but it's not like plastic, and that's okay. But then if you have something like your plastic packaging of a Coke, why not just replace it with, I don't know, a fucking Coke carton? Like, I don't see a reason why it shouldn't be possible. Okay, you're going to be making a little bit less money, but this isn't something that hasn't been done before. Look at something like beauty products, okay? If you look like 10 years back, you'll notice a lot of sunscreens had high amounts of microplastics and just generally toxic chemicals in them. And so you lather yourself to the brim with this sunscreen, and then you go skinny dipping with the boys at the ocean, right? And the problem is that a lot of that sunscreen is going to probably rinse off into the oceans. And boom, you've got direct microplastics and God knows what else into the ocean for the little fish and guppies to enjoy. And then it goes on your dinner plate. But what do you know? Those things have been removed from being used in products like sunscreen or just general beauty products. So it goes to show change is possible, guys. Okay, if we could save TF2, we can probably save the ocean. Because I think convincing Valve to fix TF2 was a lot harder than convincing Coke to use cartons. Anyway, subscribe.
Overall, while there are going to be some major problems for Jimmy following these allegations, as most of them could be facing him legally or some fines, a hard investigation, and promising to not do these things again, or at least not to try and hide anything at all from, like, the company, this is going to be a massive hit to his reputation, since many people around the world do believe that Jimmy is one of the good YouTubers out there that very much sets the example. And whilst the self-creative criticism seems to get a lot more worse and worse as time goes on, it's not looking good for MrBeast. And I think that he very much could make out of this alive, even if he could. Like, he would be in trouble legally. His reputation would take a bit of a hit. But I think for a lot of people, I think he is going to get out of this a little bit fine, as I don't think it's going to be like the end of MrBeast's like career. I think the most that he would end up doing, that if he really cares, he would not let his reputation to be hit. So we might end up looking for a statement from him, or maybe a response video that is going to, addressing everything, and that he's going to actually apologize and, do at least better, because with this stuff being, being revealed from a ex-employee, which again, these are still allegations for the most part, so it is better to keep them with a good, healthy amount of salt. But this is a lot of stuff that very much did prove that it is very much wrong legally in all these cases. So it is a pretty bad look for him. So he could get out of it. Who knows? Maybe he'll not. Maybe we'll end up starting to see the actual fall of the MrBeast empire. But that's really about what it is. So I know Dogpack is going to make a part 2 of the video. So I am going to be on the lookout for that one when it does actually end up dropping. But yeah, that's really about all there is as of right now currently with the MrBeast allegations. And that's really about there all is to it. Bye-bye.